on the third level. That's just for the sink and tub. The outhouse or crib was always the brick building outside. However, Julia wanted an indoor bathroom, so that's the craziest one I've ever seen. On this way, I'll tell you. Julia felt madly in love with a young man that her family did not approve of, so they sent her to her Uncle John Ruth's plantation, his Uncle John. And he had a plantation across the river in Louisiana. And she met Haller there. Her family liked Haller. He was doing business with her uncle. And Haller and Julia married December the 22nd, 1840. She was 18, he was 24. And that marriage lasted 24 years until Haller's death. The fainting sofa is part of Julia's family collection. Now, the latest one of those tiny waifs, so they gave up breathing. This is my favorite piece of furniture, Haller's desk, the bookcase. It's rosewood. We do have some of these books. And then this is going to be Haller's office. We do have his desk, and that is a photograph of Haller Nutt. Mostly this was the boys' bedrooms. The beds are called rolling pin beds. You know, you roll out dough with a rolling pin to smooth the dough. The rolling pin unhooks from the headboards. You can roll out, smooth the lumps out of the feather mattresses. We only have pictures of two of the four sons who lived to adulthood. Prentice was a family attorney, and he and his wife lived in Washington, D.C. And then Calvin was only 5 years old when his father died, and he and his wife also lived in Washington, D.C. Now, a few years ago, we got back Calvin's empty guitar case. Somebody just found it in their attic. That's because their son Prentice, when he came back to settle his mother's estate after Julia died in 1897, he didn't like his brothers and sisters. None of the eight got along. So he packed up everything he could and shipped it to Washington, D.C., put it in storage, and then didn't pay the bills, and everything was auctioned off. But his siblings didn't get it. Anyway, Prentice was 60 years old when World War I broke out, but he volunteered for World War I. He was in the Naval Reserve. And he's buried in Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C. And this is Uncle Frederick. He was a slave, an enslaved person. Haller grew up knowing him, and he was freed in 1863. Well, the painting, the family must have thought a lot of him because the painting was done by C.R. Parker, who died in 1849. So the painting was done in the middle 1840s. So I think Uncle Frederick was pretty important. Come on this way. We have the girls' bedroom. Now we do have Julia's own children's books in the bookcase and also in her own desk. That was her favorite piece of furniture. She gave all this to her children, plus the doll furniture and the mirror Julia gave to her daughters. And we have pictures of all four of the girls who lived to adulthood. Haller and Julia's first two children were Carrie on the left in the painting. She was born in 1841. Her sister Ella was born in 1843. Ella never married, and she was a nanny. Finally wound up living here some, trying to help make ends meet, pay the bills. The daughter Julia never married, and she lived here some. She was in the cattle business with her cousin. Everybody needed to eat, so they sold cattle for meat. And then Lily was the last girl born in 1861. She's with her husband, James Lord. They had 5 children. They all lived here. From the letters I've read, the family letters, it was chaos. There were beds everywhere. But this was the only family home they had left. Now, we only have pictures of Haller and Julia's grandsons, Merritt, James, and Robert. The family does descend from their sisters. They're both of them married and we have greats around in Natchez and also in Memphis. Merritt, the photograph on the left as an adult, was the last of the family to live here. And when he died in 1939, he was the third and last generation of the family. And then the family didn't care about the house. They didn't want to live here, So they hired caretakers. Way back in 1861, Haller had the 5 floors above us boarded up temporarily to protect it because it was unfinished. I cannot imagine what it looked like by 1968. The family then decided it was time to sell the house. They didn't have the money or the interest to mess with it. Luckily, Mr. and Mrs. Kelly McAdams of Austin, Texas, were very interested in saving Longwood, not to live here. They offered the family $200,000 in 1968, which the family took. It took them 2 years and probably well over another $200,000 to do the restoration, renovate, not finish it. Then they donated it to the Pilgrimage Garden Club ladies in 1971, saying you can never legally finish it, but we want you to give it TLC. They wanted everyone to know about the life and death of a culture and the fact that war leaves things unfinished. And so the house will never be finished. So upstairs you're going to see the most unique part in any house you've ever seen. Of course, the dining room was really supposed to be upstairs, but it was logical. Come on in. The dining room was here because the kitchen was right out in the back. And did you know there were no screens put on windows until 1900? Luckily, in the 1830s, our English tourists from India, English settlers, brought the idea of a punka over. P-U-N-K-A-H, or also called a shoe fly. So you wouldn't have to have an indoor picnic. The little high chair was made for the family in 1840. The dishes are antique, old Paris porcelain. The Garden Club ladies bought this set to go with Julia's china right there. The family left us that one piece that was hers. I think it's a pretty good match. And I love the egg cuts. And then this is a beautiful piece of furniture. A sideboard for Julia's family, about 1847, 1850. Look at the beautiful carpet on the legs. It has the original glass doorknobs. Isn't that amazing? Now we started in that room. We've been all the way around the house. We have walked 10,000 square feet.
No.
This floor is 10,000 square feet and 9 rooms. That's why Haller wanted an octagonal shed, a lot of space. Since this is the basement, Haller plans this to be the wine cellar. These are the only 4 of the original 24 closets that were ever built in and finished. Since we're in the basement, he wanted natural light, since this is an interior room. He had skylights put in, planning to have mirrors on the 5th floor to reflect the sunlight. How brilliant. A few years ago, we got back portraits of Julia's family, and I love putting names and faces together. So let me introduce you to Julia's family. This is her mother, Caroline, her aunt, Elizabeth, her grandfather, Joe Ruth. You already met her uncle, Stephen Ruth, or John Ruth. This was Uncle Stephen Ruth. They were all cotton planters. And then her father's parents, Charles and Elizabeth Williams. These are paintings, but look at the detail work on Elizabeth's lace headdress and the glasses on her head. Don't they look like photographs? Okay, y'all ready to head upstairs? We're going to leave the Annabelle and air conditioning down here, so come on up and be surprised.
Yeah. Kind of hot. Whoa.
This is the main floor. This is where Julia and Haller plan to live. Front door where they plan to welcome their guests, not downstairs.
Oh, we were just underground.
On the first floor, ground floor. Now, are 14 feet tall. This floor has 10,000 square feet. In 1973, the Garden Club ladies received a gift on the front windows, perfect fit, and they had a real front door put on. Here's the floor plan for this floor. We're here in the hallway. In the rotunda on this floor would be a black and white 8-pointed marble star with glass over the skylights. All these floors, if you use your imagination, all of these floors are going to be a beautiful, shiny white marble, cream-colored plaster, no brick showing, walnut woodwork, 14-foot ceilings. This is the principal of the main floor. Then come on in here and have an all over and look up. You get to see the framework that goes into the house.
Oh, wow.
It never fails to amaze.
That is so cool.
Isn't it amazing?
That's pretty badass.
Now the next floor is going to be the master bedroom, your own bedroom, bathroom with running water, built-in closets in the corners. Here's the floor plan. 12-foot ceilings. And then above them would be the boys' bedrooms with 9-foot ceilings, then the solarium or greenhouse. This is where the family plan to live and entertain. In the niches, the beautiful marble statues would resemble museums. You're looking at some of the over 750,000 handmade goods. These are 5-sided bricks. These walls hold the weight of this house. Whatever the house weighs, these walls support it. The ceilings downstairs are 9 feet tall. The pilings or the foundation goes into the ground 9 feet. The walls are solid brick. The outside walls are 27 inches thick. All of this is original. However, they have sliding shutter doors also closed to protect the brick.
Corinthian columns.
We have 120. These are all handmade wood, and the medallions that came from Pennsylvania. All the millwork, everything is original. And we're at the very back of the house. Howler planned to have stairs going down the back to the children's play area. These are 4 of the original 5 live oak trees planted in the 1850s. Sometimes I wish these trees could talk. Or maybe not, I don't know. The old wooden structure down there is the 1820 carriage house. We still have Julia's carriage, a lot of equipment meant to the rooms that we never use. We also have up in the last room, you will notice windows that are here that we haven't made. And we have Julia's loom on the left side, the big piece of equipment. She can do a make wall. The 3-story brick building, Howard redid in 1859. That's where his family lived while the first home was torn down and this one was built. And several times after Howard's death, Julia's cousin, William Dunbar, had money. He raised capital money. So he was always entertaining when he wanted to rent out the downstairs for $1,000 a month. Julia moved the family back out there. And the old kitchen stood here from 1820 until it burned. You peek in that building, you'll see a lot of the reused burned wood. And you're looking at the 1820 fireplace, brick fireplace, and cistern. If you come back in, this room on the left is going to be the breakfast room. It's kind of like storage, like attic, you know. We have crates that have had shipped with daughter Julia in.
That's a chimney?
This was, yes, a fireplace. There'll be 26 altogether.
Whoa.
And they're bricked up because these were open. There are only 4 chimneys. There were 26 fireplaces. They planned to have a separate flue, but because these were not finished, it caused a draft downstairs, so these had to be bricked up. Here's the piano crane that goes into the city. And you'll notice back up when you turn the back, and they're fed with strings going into it. could welcome their guests. Howler told the workers to leave everything and be back, so everything is still waiting. We had no idea where that big door was going to go. That's the biggest door I've ever seen. There's another view of that room. And this was the library. And in here, you can really see what this floor looked like unfinished. The state in 1973, when the Garden Club Ladies decided to show this floor, and they got the door, the windows, they had this floor laid, much safer to walk on. All of the wood, the windows piled against these walls, Howler had saved from the 1820 home, planning to reuse it, so it's still waiting. The medallion, the finial, Howler paid $250 for it. It sat on the dome, began to fall apart. Luckily, when the caretakers were living here, they saved most pieces. In 1992, the Garden Club Ladies decided they wanted the finial on the dome again, so they hired Beth, an architectural artist from New Orleans who worked for an ornamental company. She put together, even a piece is missing, like a jigsaw puzzle, she figured out what it looked like, created the fiberglass molds, and so we have a finial on the dome again, 25 feet tall, even though it looks so small from the ground. I mean, that's amazing. I don't know how they got this wooden one up here in 1860. I'm glad I didn't have to figure that out. Any questions? I know there's not lots to think about. It's just really amazing. I mean, to think these first were all handmade in 1860 and 64. Over 750,000. I've never counted them. Maybe a million.
I think of that horror movie. I think it's called Winchester. This reminds me of Winchester when the lady kept building stuff but never was satisfied.
Yes.
I didn't know
Because
Mississippi.
She was superstitious.
I didn't know Mississippi had its own version of Winchester. This seems far more interesting to me.
Yeah. But this was Howard's dream, and the dream is still here. Even though nobody else in his family had that dream. Julia was determined she was going to carry out her husband's wishes after he died for his family, for his children, so she made sure they were fed and educated. I can't imagine living in poverty, having everything, and then the last 33 years of your life not having anything. She mortgaged this house 5 times to be able to pay the bills, pay it off, and mortgage it in. Really complicated, but she did it. She was 75 years old when she died here in 1897.
And the kids wanted to stay there.
No, they didn't care about it. It wasn't finished. They didn't like. It was weird. It was different. They
It
didn't
does
have
kind of look haunted.
Yeah.
Do y'all have any ghosts?
Oh yes, we do. Howard visits quite often, and there's always. In fact, last Halloween I had 3 people from our Mississippi Paranormal Society tour. They had permission ahead of time to do their handheld photography and everything, and they picked up. I said, "Oh, there's something going on over here." I get chill bumps. I could feel something, and so they pick up words or things. We don't know who said them, but yeah, there was activity.
What room was that in?
Pardon?
What room was that in? This room?
No, it was downstairs
Oh,
in one of those rooms. But up here, sometimes when I'm opening up or closing, I can feel somebody up here. I think Hal is behind me, and I can feel him, almost see him behind me with his hands behind his back, maybe pacing around, wondering about his unfinished dream. I can't imagine. He must have, on his deathbed, thought about the dream gone. I don't know. But I think he loved his home, that his might still be, his spirit might be tied here. Sometimes things happen.
What-
Unexplainable.
Mm.
This was going to be the front door. Now we're going to have stone, beautiful shiny stone white steps. Of course, that didn't happen. The Garden Club ladies, since they had the windows, they wanted this to be an opening, so they put the front door on, and they had the old bricks that were made on the ground used for the steps and the walkway. These are old bricks, you can see they're all handmade. Now, if you're interested, when you walk, you're gonna exit out this way. Over on the right, you can peek and see their their bathroom, their outdoor privy, whatever, that old red brick building. And if you wanna walk down to the family cemetery, you'll just follow the driveway down, and right just down where the pavement ends, there's a dirt path, and there's a sign that says cemetery, and that's what the family's buried.
How far is it?
It's, you walk down around the curve, it's 175 yards from the driveway, if you're interested. And then don't forget to peek in
Is
the
it better to
carriage
drive
house.
there?
Pardon?
Is it better to drive there?
No, you can't drive down,
Oh,
it's
okay.
one way, the
I
driveway's
see.
one way, yeah.
And I went to the Myrtles plantation in New
Yeah,
Orleans.
that's cool, I've been there.
And that dude with the black hair, he seems familiar. It seems I might have seen his
Yeah, I
picture
don't
there.
know, I don't know, yeah.
It might have just been the style. But
Maybe
what
so, yeah.
what country did these original people come from?
Haller's grandfather came from Denmark, and that's where they had the name Canute.
Yeah.
And one of the family members went back to that name, but that's where the family came from. And then his father moved from Virginia to here. After he lost his first wife, he moved up to north of here, which Rodney's a ghost town now, but he had Laurel
I've seen
Hill.
Rodney.
Laurel Hill, 30 miles north of here, is where Haller was born in 1816.
Wow.
But there's nothing there now, which is sad. But anyway.
This in Mississippi?
Mhm.
Denmark.
On the way to Vicksburg, yeah.
How did they make it all the way here from Denmark? Ship.
Yeah, ship probably, but that would be Haller's great. I think his maybe two great grandfathers came over. And his father grew up in the Virginia area and then moved here in the late 17.
How did they make their money?
They were able to get Spanish land grants. When the Spanish wanted settlers, they would give away a land. And they said, okay, you had to build a dwelling and live on the property within a year to keep it. If you didn't, it would revert back. That's the way they began to collect land. And then they had children, and so they began to do the same thing because the English even wanted settlers here. So they would drive people and say, well, if you come, we'll give you this amount of money and land. So they got settlers.
God, you got the
Right place,
greatest
right time.
job in the world.
Yes.
You rock.
Any other questions? Well, you all have been fun. I enjoyed visiting, and I set you free now.
Did this get destroyed during the Civil War at all?
No. Haller was a pro-union sympathizer, of course, as were most of the cotton planters because they sold their cotton in the north. They did not want war to come. They tried to ignore it, but it didn't go away. As we know, it doesn't happen if you ignore it. So he lost had it and then lost everything.
Is there any way to ever spend the night here?
No, we don't stay. Security company comes in and we turn the systems on and except maybe the good.
You guys have weddings and stuff here?
We used to before the pandemic. Yeah, we
Oh,
used to have
yeah.
special events. We hope to again maybe one day.
Downstairs.
No, it's up here mostly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Outside, they set up the white chairs and have everything out here, and the bride will come out for dinner.
That was well worth $25. I'm impressed. Thank you so much.
You are quite welcome.
Thank you for letting me take footage. Cemetery is this way.
Okay, well, this is
Which-
your exit.
Thank you much.
Thank you all, I enjoyed it.
Which way is
Bye-bye.
the cemetery? Oh, duh. Which way did she say?
Straight down.
This way?
Yep.
Damn, it's hot.